Hi everybody, this is Let's Play 2025 June week 1, and I'm revealing the colors I'm going to play with that you can also play with me if you'd like. That would be lovely. This is the fabric that's inspiring this month. Now, a couple of decades plus ago, when I used to teach in person, I had a student who left behind a bunch of small pieces of this fabric that she had put in her quilt that she was working on. And I've always thought it was such a lovely combination of greens with the yellow and it was so charming. So I saved them. I'm going to see if I can't do something with them for this month's mini quilt. So those are the colors, green and yellow. It's a bit different green than I've worked with in this series before, and a bit of a different yellow as well. The yellow from the blue and yellow was a much paler version, so that'll be fun to change that up a bit. I've already did some digging in my scraps and found a few bits. I've always loved this fabric, and I think this is all I have left of it, so I'm looking forward to including it. This was from a bigger piece of fabric with lots of decoration on it, but I've always thought those two as a pair were quite charming. And yeah, just some pieces, and I still have to dig a little more in my yellow buckets, but these are greens left over from March, I think, but they would work. Some of them would work for this one as well. And then I did have a bucket, you might not be surprised, of greens and yellows. And I did find where that was, and I dug out some of the ones that I have potential for this month. So, and then these picture fabrics are always fun as well, with the fact that you can take a section of it and do something with that. And then, of course, I dug into my embellishment trims and things, and I have a bucket of those. So I don't think this is going to be part of the project. It just seems a little yellow-green for me, but I put it in there anyway since I came across it. But I got some beads, and I got some trims like rickracs, which are standard for me, and little floral things, grosgrain, trim, ribbon, buttons, laces, silk ribbons, more trims. So yeah, it'll be fun to see what happens with this month. I think I already have a theme, if not a motif itself, though now that I say that, I just remembered I did have a plan, so I guess that thing is a motif. But bees, and I've always loved how the hexagon in a hexagon flower kind of looks like a beehive cone. Yeah, so maybe play with something like that. So I'll be back I'm going to go off camera and play with some fabrics and start getting my background patches thought of and put together, and I'll be back when I have something more to share. I'm back, and here is what my background is going to be. This was an interesting development. I thought my background would be similar to the other ones with rectangles and squares and the way I'd been doing it. And then I mentioned earlier that my plan was to use hexagon flower, kind of like a honeycomb. I didn't use the word honeycomb. But that's what I was referring to. And then after I thought that, all I could picture it was inside a circle. So I did this little sketch of it just to see if it's off, but the fabric one will be centered. I really like this. So then I also started wondering, what did I want to do with the little tiny triangles I have of this? And I will share with you what came up with that, but that also worked really well in a circle. So then circles sort of started becoming a thing. And I have to tell you, all of this was thought of as I was trying to fall asleep in the middle of the night a couple nights ago. So I drew myself a sketch. Let's see if I can put it on a white background and then you can see it better. Yes. I drew myself a sketch of some circles sort of flowing across this tiny little piece. And then after that, and that's what I thought I was going to do, was just circles and still have the rectangles and squares and things. But as I was playing with my fabrics, I wasn't enjoying what I was seeing, and it wasn't flowing enough. And because of the circles, it just seemed too rigid. So then, as I was falling asleep some more, the next day, this is a couple days later from when I first introduced the video, this idea came to me, and I, in my sleepy brain, went, oh, that's not me. And then it just wouldn't go away. So I drew myself a sketch of the circles with the sort of curvy thing going through them. And my plan is to, like you see here, and notice I picked plaids for both of them. I like juxtapositioning the rigid plaids against the flowy circles and curves. So this is the plan. I cut myself a paper template and I put it on the back of the lower fabric, and I drew with my mechanical pencil around. And for the tip for applique, for the curved edges, so you don't have to clip all along the curves. Sometimes you have to still clip if it's too tight a curve. But I use pinking shears, and that allows the turning over the seam, making it a much neater turn. So after I'm off camera again, I'm going to baste the seam allowance over, and then I'll baste it to this background. I originally thought I was going to cut this away, the under part. I still might, but I might also just leave it. There's no real reason I need to cut it away. And yeah, then that's going to be my background to my circles that are going to be, each circle is going to have a thing. So, and I'm still not sure, but I probably will do something in the blank spaces as well. But we'll have to see. I'll have to see if I like it just with the flow. Interesting, isn't it? I do have my backing fabric chosen and my thin batting that's going to go behind the backing. All right, so when I'm all basted up, I'll come and I'll show you what that looks like. Well, here I am. This piece is all basted up, and next week I'll start blind stitching it down and doing some embroidery on this. And I also think I'm going to quilt the background, which I haven't really done on the other pieces, but just because these are such big, large areas, and even though there's going to be circles on top, I just think this grid of quilting would look really nice. The only other thing I can share with you so far is I've picked a few things out as possibilities for edging this piece. This fabric here, perhaps. I've got this trim. I don't know if it's, we'll have to see if it'll work for this. I want to get the circles on first, but that might be nice. I also have this one, which is a green. It's a different mossy green, but it's green and yellow. It might also work somewhere. I don't know. And then the two other pieces I have this green and yellow print. Big long strip that had been binding before, left over. So I think that would actually look really good down one side. And of course, I have this in green, and I'm not even going to tell you the terrible looking for it that went on yesterday, only to find it in the bucket that I already had pulled out. I just didn't dig deep enough. It's so silly. The hour at least that I spent poking around looking for it. Okay. So I'm not 100% sure about any of those, but those are some of my options that I'm leaning towards.
and I will see you next week for the beginning of the stitching.